across, a good opportunity to discuss and talk amongst each other. So moving forward, we've got 2 more of these planned. We'll get a little more specific, talk about personal fouls, technical fouls, the things that we are going to be seeing on a, in the game, and things we're gonna have to start thinking about as a group. Because we all want to be on the same page too. I've lost my train of thought here. I'm looking at all the people popping up on the screen, but it's these discussions, I think, that help us as an association. And I think that's the main point I'm trying to make here, is that having everyone from new reps to experienced reps kind of raise the level of discussion here. So I hope you all agree with that. We may still have to have a 4th meeting once we get final word from the VPA on how they want the season to go, what their requirements will be. So, as far as masks, testing, we were talking a little bit about the college assignments are starting to go out. I know that some of the colleges are going to have rapid COVID testing on site for the reps when they arrive. So, hopefully this is all going to go smooth, but we'll see, right? As the season goes on. I am curious, did George make it on? Do we see George?
I haven't seen him.
All right. I know he wanted to say a few things about the importance of training and getting together as a group. We'll give him another minute. But I'm not gonna belabor this. I'm not just gonna ramble on. We'll get right into Shannon's slides then, and then we can always circle back. But I do want to promote this as a discussion as well. So feel free. We're gonna give everyone opportunities to ask a question, put in a comment. We're still gonna try to keep this to an hour. So we don't want to belabor anything too much. We'll be quick when we can, but probably the most important thing is don't neglect doing things on your own. The VLOA has a great one was, but parents, roving packs, it's fantastic. It's that like I said, that distraction that you want sometimes, but again, the whole concept is it's something we want to avoid. Those are club games, of course. We're dealing with high school, a little more disciplined, but you'll learn stuff there, and there's good commentary. So please explore our website, US Lacrosse website, watch the videos, learn from that. And then, we put together a little bit today just to focus on the points of emphasis as today's topic. So Shannon, why don't you go ahead and put up your screen and you can start showing the stuff.
Yes. You should be good, Shannon.
All right, thank you, sir. Eric, we need to do the points of emphasis for this year. You want to talk about these?
Sportsmanship and conduct. You want me to talk about sportsmanship and conduct? Well, thanks for surprising me here. Let's see.
You have to make the quick call.
Sportsmanship and conduct. I don't think this is anything new. Sportsmanship and conduct, the Federation rules people, and the VPA and the leagues and everything want to promote good sportsmanship and good conduct, and we have to do our best to encourage that, either by talking to players, talking to coaches, or enforcing the rules as they're written. So that's all I'll say about that.
Sorry. Player safety.
Who are you addressing this to?
These are all you, big dog.
Player safety. Okay, the game of lacrosse today that they want played is different than the game that I played. Certainly different from the game Rob Wyman played at Castleton in the late 60s, early 70s. They're interested in making it a game of speed and skill rather than a collision sport. And so things have changed over particularly the past few years in terms of our worry about concussion and head injuries and hits to the head and neck area, which have been an important part of the last, I would say, 3 or 4 years. So we have to be careful about those hits to the head and neck, hits that start on the body and end up on the neck, or head, or hits, and I'm talking about body hits, not necessarily stick hits, hits that go directly to the head. So in this case, the rules state that you're going to start with 2 minutes, and it's going to be non-releasable. And coaches that have been around a while, since the old days, will look at you like you're from Mars, in terms of, really, 2 minutes, non-releasable? That's really, in those days, was a 1 minute illegal body check. But today, with our emphasis, on safety, on worrying about concussions, on worrying about whether ultimate frisbee will be our spring sport and not lacrosse, because lacrosse became too violent, we have to address this. So you start with 2 minutes, and it goes non-releasable. You could go to 3. In fact, certain areas require 3, and then you have ejection. But I think the kind of the boilerplate starting point is a 2 minute non-releasable foul for those hits to the head and neck.
Eric, if I can add something.
Sure.
The only thing, I mean, it says targeting is only to the head or neck. I don't have a problem calling targeting if it's just obviously they're targeting that player and it's a huge hit to the chest area. That's still targeting as far as I'm concerned. It's a takeout hit. They're not intended to take the player off the ball. They're intended to take that player out of the game. And I'll call targeting on a huge hit like that.
Yes. Think of it as, I like to rewind it in my mind. Is it a lacrosse play to get the ball?
Right.
Or is it an attempt to hurt or injure another person? That's kind of what I go through in my mind.
Yeah, no, I do too. It says head and neck only. So just want to make that clarification.
Eric, I have a question, if that's okay, as a still relatively new official.
Yep.
At what point do you go from 2 to 3? If you think the hit was intentional to the head and neck, you automatically go to 3. If it's a hit that starts low and comes up, give them the benefit of the doubt and go with 2.
No, I would say if it's intentionally going to the head and neck, it's a 3 minute. And possibly an ejection. I mean, look at that last sentence there. Targeting a defenseless player, intentionally takes aim. Those kinds of things are 3 minutes.
So you would go with 2 if you didn't feel it was intentional. Maybe a player turned or ducked a little bit, or the hit started low and came up. That would be your criteria for 2?
Yeah, I would think that's a good way of looking at it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Could I offer some input?
Please.
If you're thinking 3, it's advisable to have your crew come together and have multiple inputs into what the penalty is going to be.
A great point.
I would just add to that, Rob, if you do get the officials, if it's a 2-man game or if it's a 3-man game, with a hit like that, you're going to have an agitated field and players. One of the referees should be watching the players at that point, in addition to your discussion.
I'm moving on to point of emphasis number 3. Case of play.
My pace just slowed down, Shannon. I'll let somebody else take that.
Brett, you want to take this?
Computer uploads here.
You got it. You got it. Thank you, Tom.
Who's talking here?
I don't hear Brett.
So Eric has gone over this. You don't hear Brett? Okay, Eric has gone over this a couple times. He went over this last year in Hartford, and then he went over it this year in the Zoom, that all the athletic directors had gotten together and coaches and felt that we needed to speed up the game. So, I mean, just like it says here, if a defensive player, we're not backing up defensive players. If an offensive player is within 5 yards of the ball, then we back them up. But if defensive players are just surrounding, as long as they're not engaging the offensive player with the ball, then we're just whistling it up. I mean, obviously, anytime that we're restarting the game, we want to look at our partner and make sure his hand's down, his eyes are up, and he's ready. The field is set. If you eyeball your partner and he's ready to go, and the person with the ball is ready to go, no offensive players within 5 yards, the goalie is back where he needs to be, then it's a quick whistle. They want to increase the number of quick whistles as opposed to thoroughly setting the field and making sure everybody is distant.
I have a question. So is this 5-yard establishment, is this also applied to newest lacrosse, the middle school, junior varsity? Because I know some of the youth level, they don't have that implemented. And sometimes some of those youth players are also in middle school level and they don't understand the rules from that case.
So middle school, anytime we get assigned a middle school game through our high school assigner, those would be NFHS rules. If we're doing a youth game through our youth assigner, those would be 3 yards. So for youth sports, it's 3 yards because the fields are smaller. For high school and middle school assigned by your high school assigner, it would be 5 yards.
I just wanted to jump in here and say that, the big part of this is we're not saying back up on a restart. We are saying we're going to blow our whistle and restart the play. And it's the onus is on the defense to establish a 5-yard buffer before you play that offensive guy. If they don't do that, it's a technical foul. And that's been long established in college, and it's helping us to just not have to verbally remind those players too often. We get really frustrated, I think, when we back up the JV players and back up the varsity players by saying that we don't need to do that anymore. So it's on them. It should be instructed by their coaches to do that. And it will help us to move the pace of the play forward.
Brett, is this something we should remind coaches of in our meeting before the game so that there's clarity?
What I would say is it could be something that we mention for sure. It's a 2019 piece, so when it came about, and it's been a frustrating piece, I think, for us, just in terms of always giving the verbal reminder to players when they know how to establish it. And so we got to bring the player in from the sideline, right? A bit, the offensive player, and then we got to be able to go. And if the defensive player is within that 5 yards, yeah, we should tell coaches. Just as a reminder, coach, we're looking at you want a quick whistle, and so do we, because we like that pace of play. So we're going to call that both ways. So if you're feeling frustrated about the pace of play or those restarts, that's the first thing I'm going to ask you to do is think about how you're helping us by telling your kids what the expectations are.
And if a defensive player does play the ball before 5 yards has been established, you say it's technical foul. What is the technical foul?
So it's delay a game. It should be a flag down, slow whistle.
Right.
And then you're going to adjudicate your slow. You're going to do your slow whistle mechanic. So flag down. If the ball becomes loose, right, then the defense is then we're blowing it dead. I can't remember right this second if the defense has to gain possession of the ball. Someone's going to jump in and want to correct me, which I appreciate or clarify. But you'll do that practice, right? It'll just be this. You're not going to immediately blow your whistle. It's a flag down. Start to play and then throw the flag.
Couple more points on pace of play now that I've caught my breath and haven't been surprised by Shannon this morning. This also includes stalling at the offensive end. They want that called a little more vigorously, let's say, if the team is not going to goal for whatever reason. Maybe they're man down and they want to wait till their star midi comes back on the field. Maybe they're ahead with a minute to go and so on and so forth. So we have to be aware of stalling and calling that, even if a team is man down and even if a team is behind. Seems counterintuitive, but just at that end, we have to be a little more cognizant about stalling. The second thing I would add about pace of play is we do go slowly at certain points. And one of them is a restart in the table area. We bring them in 5 yards and make sure it's clean and away we go. We also don't allow a running restart, nor a restart that's not somewhat close to where the ball went out of bounds. We're not going to just blow the whistle if they've got a 10-yard advantage on maybe clearing that ball over the midfield. So, where the ball went out of bounds, stationary, no pants on fire, as I say, and then we can restart.
I think correct positioning for restarts is really important, as Eric just said. You want to make sure that you get that right, because if you don't have the right position, one of the coaches is going to be upset with you, right? Because you're either advantaging or disadvantaging someone. And Eric has a really good way of describing those restarts to coaches. So Eric, you want to give those, that table area discussion that you do with coaches, I think is good for people.
What do I do that's good, Brett?
Give last minute presentations.
Nicely done. That was exactly what I was going to say, Mike. But you have that when in your pregame with coaches, you talk about the table area. There's times on the field, you always say there's times on the field where there's going to be a slow restart, and these are them. That's what you normally. I'm not going to do your thing. I want you to share that with people.
Oh, I think you just said it brilliantly. I would add just one more thing. After you adjudicate a penalty and you have a man up situation, that's a good time to take your time and to make sure you have the right numbers on the field and that the table area is aware of what the penalty is. And if they have a clock, the penalty time is posted on the scoreboard clock. If you're lucky enough, to be up there in that wealthy Burlington area that has all these fancy scoreboards and everything. We don't have that down south, as you know. Make sure that's posted, and then you can restart the extra man situation, but there's no real hurry there.
The one thing to keep in mind for pace of play, and I think a lot of people forget about that, is if, for example, if you blow the whistle because the other team is offside or whatever, then, or maybe warden call, whatever, and the ball got turned over. If the offensive player that had the ball throw the ball away, blow the whistle right away because that's delay of game. you're putting the other team at a disadvantage to start the ball right from the spot of where the warden happened, and that's throwing the ball away further away from where the ball should be started. That delay of game right away. That's also a question of pace of play as well.
True, but you wouldn't blow the whistle at that point when he throws it away. You would throw the flag and adjudicate the penalty.
Right.
I think the thing to remember on this is you want to be as quick as possible, but not too fast. It depends on what the situation of the game is. I mean, like Eric said, if you have something in front of the bench, you're going to take your time to get the ball where it has to be. I mean, you don't over rush it, I would say.
The final point of emphasis for 2021 is goalkeeper shall wear a new chest protector designed for lacrosse that meets the NOC ND20 standard. It's not something we're going to check. We're not going to go over and you know, touch the goalkeeper and look at their chest protector. We're going to ask the coach if his players are properly equipped according to rule, including the new chest protector for a goalie.
And
Anything
if
to
they
add
say
there?
no game.
And we can't start, well, then that kid can't play, or we can't start the game.
Right.
Shannon, I have a couple more things on player safety now that I've caught my breath and gotten my rule book open here. The biggest complaint that assigners get from ADs and coaches is that referees allowed the game to get out of control and unsafe by failing to call safety issues and enough penalties. They never call the assigner saying that the referee stifled the game by calling it too tightly. That phone call I don't think has ever been made. Maybe it has, but 99% of the time is the calls are they let the game get out of control. So we have to do our best to keep it a safe game. That's the first priority. Safe, then fair, then fun, but always safe is first.
And that will lead right into checks involving head, neck, or defensive player. Rule 5, Section 4, Article 1, a player shall not initiate contact to an opponent's head with a cross check or with any part of his body, head, elbow, shoulder, etc. Any follow through that contacts the head or neck shall be considered a violation of this rule. Which leads us right into slide 1, or video 1, sorry. There is no commentary on these, I apologize.
Oh, I think I can hear a coach yelling at Brett in the background.
So I'm going to add something here. These are all available online, like we discussed. You can find these. It is a little bit challenging in this Zoom environment. You know, everyone's dealing with, you know, the Wi-Fi speed here and whatnot. But I'll bring it right to the main point here. It's a little bit challenging to see, but if you want to just show it once more, Shannon, the live action, what you're looking for here is the defenseman as he approaches the ball carrier, as he comes past goal line extended, he actually headbutts him. And it's a quick play. You may not notice it right away, but it's a significant contact to the head that if you watch it, have a chance to watch it at live speed, unbuffered here. It's a significant headbutt, and you would want to
Mike's audio. Oh, yeah. Mike, you get a super echo over there. I'm not sure what, if you got the wrong.
Shannon, you gotta mute yourself.
Or what you're using.
So nothing changed on mine.
Eric, this is Don Benesich. I have a question for middle school. If
I'm
an
not the-
offense is,
I'm not the person for middle school, but I'll try.
well, just if, let's say if in middle school you have large 8th graders and smaller 7th graders. An offensive player comes running down the field and a smaller defensive player that's probably in 7th grade is in his way. The offensive player, not intentionally, but runs him right over. That's still, even though he could have avoided him and, ran around him, that would still be a 2-minute, correct?
I think that's just that could be an unnecessary roughness. 1
Roughness,
minute.
yeah. 1 minute, okay.
Are
I
you
think there is a
discriminating against
specific-
size there? Eric? Eric, are you discriminating against size there?
Am I discriminating against what?
Size.
Yes, I am.
Okay. So
At that level,
back to
yeah.
this video. Did you see it the first time? The first time it was in real speed. Blue
Yeah,
went up and led with the head.
Where is this
Headbutted.
headbutt? I don't see-
What's
I
the
don't-
call?
Where's this headbutt? I don't see a headbutt. I don't.
31 on 23. when it
Watch
comes-
number
Or not
10,
23.
31.
Yeah,
I see 23. I see 32.
it's real choppy.
here.
Sometimes
Right here. 3, 2, 1.
I don't.
Well, I don't see anything either.
So again, this is a very quick play, and it's going to be better if you find this clip on your own and play it. But the defenseman makes a significant
Right
headbutt
here.
into the white player as the white player comes from behind the cage just past goal line extended.
Oh, okay. There we go. There we go. Yep.
it's his helmet.
It's purposeful and it's significant, and it would be an illegal body check, targeting, and it's helmet to helmet. So you would think that this would be an immediate, at least two minutes locked in.
So mechanically, in a 2-person game, who's going to throw this flag?
Whoever sees it.
It's coming right towards the trail.
We're leading left.
Well, the lead is right in front of the
Will be the
lead.
lead.
Coming right towards the lead.
Okay,
It's
thanks.
right in front of the lead. He's got to be watching the ball at that point. If he's not watching the ball, I'm not sure what he's doing.
Thank you. And then, where's my 3-person here? Sorry, there we go. If we have a 3-person doing this game, whose flag would that be?
Could be
And the
both the
lead-
lead and the playoff.
No, the lead's got this.
Okay,
Or it could be both the
Especially
lead and the
because-
playoff, because the playoff could have a good view from the top.
And the ball's starting behind goal line extended when he comes around and gets hit. So you would think the lead would be right on it.
so we saw in this video that it took 5 replays for some people to see it. So we need to just be aware of somebody leading with the head and hitting somebody else in the head. And illegal body check, 2 minutes locked in. In high school, this is again high school rules, so we need to call it the high school game.
Fair.
Okay, Brett, what you got on this?
Are you kidding me? I didn't see it.
It's so choppy.
I can't.
You know, so
It's, and Shannon, a couple. Hold on a second. I just want to say this. it is choppy, for sure. A couple of things just as for the association, just if you're not presenting, mute yourself and so that there's no background. Because if here's a couple of things, with the buffer, if everyone shuts off their video, right? So that your video is not running on the presentation right now, it'll help with the streaming of, it could help with the streaming of the content. So if your video is on, turn it off. If you're not muted, mute yourself, so that you should only really see Shannon and Shannon's screen right now. And then Shannon, if you want me to jump in about this, we'll play it one more time. So Lawrence Pine, if you will just turn off your video. I think everyone else has done that. It should help with the buffering of the video, but let's check it out, and I'll do my best here. Origami or something up here, I don't even know.
Who's ever showing the video needs to shut off their video. Are you showing the video, Shannon?
What's that?
Is this video coming from your system?
Yes.
Then shut off your camera and it'll help with this thing because it's extremely choppy.
I can do it for him. Up in month. Yeah.
Origami or something up here, I don't even know. Trust it. I got a cross check. It looks to me like a cross check to the. I'm gonna look one more time here. Somehow the defensive player has ended up on his back. Something up here, I don't even know.
I'll pipe in here.
I can't see it enough.
I'll pipe in here because I have watched this enough. Like I said, you can find this on the Texas video link. What happens here is the offenseman powers through the defender. The second defender comes up from behind. And personally, it's a hard thing to see in this video. Even if you watch it live and without any buffering or choppiness, you kind of wonder what happened. It's behind the initial defender, screens it a little bit. But the idea is, someone else referenced this, what does the offensive player do to the second defenseman coming in? And apparently he kind of comes up with an elbow or a shoulder and knocks the defender back. I think that's what the intention of this video is. So it is something, are you just watching the defender? What's he doing to the attack, to the offense? You have to be aware that the offense is also subject to an illegal body check, powering through a smaller defenseman. And I think that's what the intention of this call is. Is that correct, Shannon?
Yes, this is a illegal body check to the head by the offenseman. Because he sticks his arm out, hits him in the head, gives him a forearm shiver.
And that's why the defenseman's on his back.
Yes.
So what I would say, since Shannon asked me at first, it makes sense. You always have to be watching that offensive player, especially if you know that they're dodging up top and they're a big midi. You just have to pay attention to how they've been playing, and if that is something that you're seeing, like a bull dodge that continually hits the defender, and then all of a sudden you've got a bull dodge that has now a free hand to the head, or starts at the shoulder and moves up. Don't hesitate to throw a flag on an offensive player. It's the same thing with a ward, right? You want to make sure that you get that offensive player for the warding, but if it's not a ward and it's actually throwing the forearm to the head, then you got to call it the way you see it. And don't hesitate, and be prepared. If you're on that far side, here's this guy who's on the far side of the field making that call, that when you rotate through again, to report that on the cycle, if you're in front of the coaches again, or maybe you come over, if it's 2-man game, you come over to report the foul and switch places with your partner so that you can explain to the coach, this is what you've got.
Okay, so we have a slash here. A subtle slash to the face. Anytime we get contact with the head or neck, we gotta lock in high school. So we could. It's super subtle. I mean, you could probably bargain for a 1 minute locked in, or you could go to 2 minutes. Let's see it again here. But he does hit him. He does hit him in the head. So we do have to lock this in high school.
Shannon, wait a second.
Yeah,
You're
Shannon,
saying, you're saying that any slash to the head is a 2 minute non-releasable?
If we look at Rule 5.4, a player shall not initiate a excessive, violent, or uncontrolled slash to the head or neck.
well, excessive or uncontrolled are two different things.
Yeah, I mean, there's three definitions for this one article: excessive, violent, or uncontrolled.
Yeah, I think that was
none
controlled.
of them.
You think that's controlled?
Yeah.
One hand, a backhand.
Well, first of all, it's just, I would never call that a non-releasable foul.
Yeah, either would I.
He's controlling that stick. It's not like
Sure he
he's controlling it to the guy's face, admittedly, but I wouldn't lock the guy in for that.
I think
Remember,
you're
our point of emphasis here this year is also player safety. We have points of emphasis as player safety and
But that's
hits to the head and neck.
His safety's not in jeopardy there.
I totally agree with that, who's ever talking.
Okay, this could be a leader though. It could be a
What I-
leader.
What I'd like to
Not this one.
what I'd like to point out here is I think this is just why we're doing this call. Okay. What we see here is one quick example of what's happening in this game. You know, this game is 48 minutes or whatever. All right. So what has this player been doing? Has he been playing recklessly? Is this the fourth quarter? Is this the first minute of the game? And you see this one-handed, rusty gate attempt here, whatever he's doing. I mean, I think this is a careless check. And maybe he caught some face mask with number 4, the attackman pulls the stick back. But I'm not going to say it's definitely one thing or the other. I'm just trying to point out that we've got some valid points either way. So there may be a bigger picture here. So just keep that in mind. And maybe this is when you get together with your partner. Hey, okay, so we're running left. So this is going away from the trail. And in a 2-man game, what did the lead see on the other side of the field? That's the only other thing I'd want to point out here. Is there still, even as we're doing here, we're discussing this right now, but there could be a reason for discussing this with your partner.
Hey everybody, I just got a quick question as well though. You know, I think for consistency's sake, if we're calling it differently, like in one area of the state versus a different area of the state, that could cause a lot of confusion, I think, for some coaches.
Yeah, I was gonna add to that, like, what would be the difference between a brush of a defensive stick coming down toward the actual playing onto the stick, but brushes the player's helmet by accident? How would that be any different from this situation?
I think we got to look at the intent of what that slash was. Did it appear to be directed right towards the head? Or like Steve said, did he pull the stick back and the guy hit him in the head accidentally? And like Mike said, look at the pace of the game. Has it been a chippy game? Then we might want to call it that way. But if it's just a incidental, the guy moved and he kind of contacted him in the head, I think you got to look at it either way.
I think Ben and Jeff made 2 good points here too about consistency and what we're doing. But here's one last thing to consider that I would point out. as the trail here, either way, it's really happening in front of you, even though it's going away. You're gonna have to explain the call. But the only other thing that I thought of when I saw this originally, how many times have you had the brush and the offenseman jerks his head back, like, look at me, I want the call. I think in some ways the blue player here is lifting that chin way up in the air, trying to draw attention, and whether that contact was significant or not is unknown. I mean, you just can't really tell from this clip, but that's something I thought of. I thought of that exaggerated ball carrier lifting his chin up, looking for a call.
I think your options here are a slash, either 1 minute or 2 minute releasable. And if you think it's excessive, violent, or uncontrolled to the head and neck, you could go your 2 minute locked in. But boy, in this play, I would be 1 minute releasable.
I totally agree with that.
We'll try to get an easier one here, a little more easier to call. I don't think there's any ambiguity here.
Is this a defensive player?
That's a harder question because I think he sees the hit
You
coming,
did see him. Yeah.
but he certainly didn't deserve to get a cross check in the head.
That goes just cross check to the neck. Oh, that's tough. It looks like it was by the shoulder, but I mean, it's tough.
Yeah, but it still slid up and hit him in the head.
Yeah, I think you can call it whatever you want here.
Yeah.
You can call it 3, 2. I think you got to go at least 2.
Are the officials going to gather on this play?
Well, in my cruise, we gather on everything that's more than a minute. So yes.
Releasable? Not releasable?
I would say none.
Yeah, clearly, this is a non-releasable penalty. He cross-checked him in the neck or head, depending on your point of view, but he got him high. He never aimed low. He got him high. The guy was, you could argue he was defenseless. He might have seen him coming at the last second, but he didn't have time to react that much.
I think the point that he never aimed low is very good because it talks about a little bit about intent, right? His goal is to put that guy on the floor.
So is this targeting?
2 minute non-releasable.
Unmuted or muted? Brett, are you saying that is this targeting then?
I'm not suggesting it's targeting. I'm suggesting that his intention was not necessarily a lacrosse play, but I would in the cross check. His hands are set, and as this guy's coming, he's sliding, and his goal is to put this guy down. I can't tell because of the choppiness of the video on my end whether or not the kid sort of stops and tries to spin back as he's come at the offensive player. I mean. And if that's the case, then maybe he moved into it. But I think this kid is coming through kind of at the top of the shoulder but it's up high right away. So flag him, 2 minutes, non-releasable.
Yeah, and if this guy's been a problem all game, you got a good chance to get rid of him.
Just beware when you're reporting a penalty. If you mention the word targeting, what does that mean? That means you have to go 3 minutes. You cannot go targeting 2 minutes. And a smart coach will say, wait a second, you said targeting, that has to be 3 minutes. So on this play, I wouldn't worry so much about the defenseless aspect of it. That's not really the main issue here. It's the hit to the head and neck. So I would get together as the crew, and you're talking either 2 or 3 non-releasable hit to the head and neck.
Not to belabor it, but Eric's got a great point about the language that we choose to use. You have to be selective in how you report that information to the bench, because there are trigger words that people pay attention to. So you have to be thoughtful and concise. And if you use words like targeting and defenseless, you're going to get yourself into trouble. If you're just going over and saying this was a cross check, 2 minutes full time to the bench, you're good. And then after you're done, the coach might have a question, but not while you're reporting it to the bench for the foul.
How can you have a random cross check that is non-releasable? You can't, that's not, by rule, that's not possible. Any generic cross check cannot be a non-releasable penalty. It would have to be to the head or neck. Unsportsmanlike can be non-releasable.
So
hit to the head and neck, non-releasable. Targeting, non-releasable. But a cross check, just a general cross check, can never be non-releasable.
So Eric, are you saying that what I was just suggesting is just to be thoughtful of the language that you're using, but you would say to the head or neck if it made contact to the head or neck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
You could say cross check to the head or neck, that's fine, but there's just say cross check, non-releasable, the coach is going to go, where's that in the rule book?
Got it.
Double horn. Here comes Bucky.
My question is, Eric, I thought we can make a slash, a violent and excessive slash can be non-releasable.
True.
Why couldn't a violent and excessive cross check be non-releasable?
A violent or uncontrolled slash to the head or neck.
Okay. So it's just, it's only the, so maybe unnecessary roughness if you weren't going to say head or neck.
No, you go illegal body check to the head or neck, non-releasable.
All right.
Yeah, and I would add, I heard this guy in one of the NCAA videos. I think if you add the words, so by rule, it's non-releasable, you avoid some of those issues with the coach.
Yes.
They probably,
I love the adding by rule comment when you're delivering an explanation.
As long as the rule you're explaining is legal.
And yeah, that assumes you know the rules, but
He's going to say
if you don't know the rules, it might even work better.
Yeah. Think of a defenseless player is I usually think of 2 things. One is somebody's looking down to get a ground ball, or B is receiving a buddy pass up in the air and gets body checked, either legally or illegally. Those are 2 of what I think of as defenseless positions. And of course, the coach will say, well, that hit or that push or that was from the front. I don't understand why you're going 2 minutes here. And you have to go, well, he's in a defenseless position. He's looking down at the ball or looking up to receive the buddy pass. So it's those 2 kind of scenarios that I go with defenseless position, which brings a lot of strange looks sometimes. But I get those a lot anyway.
Not a very good clip.
So this athlete is not defenseless here. Right, Eric? He's, you know, he sees it, he ducks down a little bit.
I can't really tell. I don't know what's going on at the
Don't mind him.
midline.
Yeah,
Mayhem.
team here. Like right here, when the player can hit to the head. Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, it's cross check to the neck area.
So if this is a two-person game, who's going to throw this flag? This is right off a face-off. We got a face-off official. We got a wing official. Whose flag is this?
Probably the face-off guy. If we're running left, the lead is may have taken a step towards his goal at this point.
Yeah, it looks like the face-off official would throw that one. Yeah.
Depends on where the angle comes from, because you have two white defensemen potentially blocking the actual view from the lead. So I would say the playoff. There's no way the lead can see that far.
Yeah. Plus, if it's a face-off, which it looks to be,
This is a face-off, so the wing official should be right there on that wing, and in a three-man game, the helper will be right there, and the off official will be right there as well. I mean, it could be anybody's flagging. If this is a three-man game, this should be the off officials or the wing officials. It's going to be right in between them.
Well, who's ever running right's going to have his back to the play, so they're not going to have it.
Now this red player keeps going to the goal, right? Looks like
It
it.
does pop right up, yes.
Now, if you have two flags, is he allowed to go to the goal?
Nope. Well, yes.
How about if each flag is for a different violation?
Both on defense.
Yeah, if one official has one white player with a foul and another official has another white player with a foul.
Yeah, you got to let it play out. You got to let it play out, I think, to see if he's gonna, if he has a, if it's a fast break, you don't want to blow the whistle there.
Yeah.
So what happens in the situation if both officials blow the flag for the same play? I mean, do we keep play going, or you both blow it down because we both have two flags on the field officially at that point?
Well, you
I've had
could
that
make an,
happen. I've had that happen before.
yeah, if you're unaware and you think there's two flags on the play and the guy's not having a scoring chance, then you would tend to blow it dead and then apologize to the coach.
By rule, we should apologize.
I'd say we screwed up, coach. Sorry, we thought we had two flags. There was no. He won't be that upset if he has no scoring opportunity. As if he did, he would be really upset. He's only going to be upset because he lost an advantage, while he tried to score a goal. But yeah, sometimes we make mistakes. It happens.
And I think with that one, if we blow it dead quickly, we can also go to the player safety thing, because we saw a player get hit in the head. As long as we don't allow that player to get back up and go on that scoring chance, I think we got a good explanation.
So here's your question you guys can look up on your free time. You have two flags. Both officials think it's for the same infraction, but no, it's not. It's two different people. The guy goes down and scores. Now what's the coach going to say? Who was just scored upon? That'll be your homework for next week.
Here's Rule 5, Section 4, Article 3, 4, and 5. Player, including an offensive player in possession of the ball, shall not block an opponent with the head or initiate contact with the head, known as spearing. Spearing is a word that folks in the VLOA don't like to use a whole lot. Article 4, a player shall not initiate a body check legally that slides up into or follows through to an opponent's head. So this was one we discussed on the previous slide, that there was no slide up, he hit him. But if it does slide up, if he starts at his chest and slides up into his head or neck area, then that would deem a 2 or 3 minute non-releasable foul. Article 5, a player shall not body check a player in a defenseless position, including but not limited to body checking a player from his blind side, body checking a player who has his head down, body checking a player whose head is turned away to receive a pass. Articles 1 through 5 are 2 or 3 minute non-releasable fouls at the official's discretion. An excessive violent violation may result in an injection. Did you see it? Offensive player passes the ball. Defensive player slides by. The player checks him in the head.
Well, after that pass, there's a little bit of a cross check, like a little follow through, get out of my way, cross check to the head.
Yes.
I would say that is a 2 minute locked in targeting to the head cross check.
Not, you can't say targeting though.
Oh my goodness. I thought we could. It's nothing but head.
Targeting is 3 minutes.
Okay. Then 3 minutes.
Good job by the official here. He gets this one. It prevents further mayhem from happening either at this point or later in the game. Because you see the kid in orange, turned around with his palms up, looking at the official. Did you see me get hit in the head?
Can you hear me?
Oops, sorry.
I can hear somebody.
Yeah, it's me. It's Paul. Hey, I have a question on spearing. Can you spear with the front of the head, or does it have to be the crown of the head like it is in football?
Good question.
The rule book doesn't specify, so I think it could be any part of the head.
Yeah, I think it says leading with the head.
Yeah, how do you lead with your face? I mean, I don't quite understand.
In football, it's defined as spearing is with the crown of the head, which means the top of your helmet. And I think that's what spearing is. You go in head first. If you have your head up and you go in, that's not necessarily going to be a spearing.
So our rule book states initiating contact with the head, known as spearing.
Leading with the head. Yeah.
So if I lead my forehead or the crown of my head, the rule book states initiating contact with my head.
Right.
Uneasy lies the head that wears the crown.
Shakespeare.
Well, there you go. I think you got some room for interpretation there. But I've always just assumed it meant the crown. They should clarify that.
So this one here, we see blue 7 passes the ball. Is he a defenseless player?
Mine is so blurry, I can't see a thing.
It's not playing right now.
That was Craig Benson with another game for Brett.
I have no idea what happened in this play, but for future meetings, can we have somebody that has got enough bandwidth to show these things, even if it's not the presenter? Because this is not helpful.
Well, keep in mind, I have uploaded the PowerPoint to the website, and I did include the link in the chat. So if you want to download the PowerPoint presentation and go along with it, you can see the video and live stream.
Okay.
We can only work with what we have right now.
But somebody must have fairly high bandwidth that could show this so it looks seamless. I'd offer to do it. I've got fiber optic here, but
Well, that's a good point. You know, we do the best we can. But, you know, again, these are already loaded up. You can watch these. There's many links on the VLOA. This is just clearly a textbook, you know, late, cross-check, had everything. Unnecessary. So.
Let that stop playing. Rule 5, Section 4, Article 6 and 7. The player shall not initiate targeting that intentionally takes aim at the head or neck of an opponent. For the purpose of making violent contact, this includes a check with the crown of the helmet that targets the head or neck of an opponent. A player shall not initiate targeting that intentionally takes aim at a player in a defenseless position. The penalty for Article 6 and 7 targeting is a 3-minute non-releasable foul. Excessive targeting would be an ejection.
okay. Well, there's the crown definition.
In case you're not sure what to call here, the fans will help you out.
So this one we see the ball is loose. It's up in the air, it's down on the ground. Blue has it. Blue drops it. Blue's looking at the ground. White comes from 4 or 5 steps away, lines him up, hits him in the head with his shoulder while he's looking down at the ground. Is this targeting? This, according to Article 6, is targeting. A defenseless
Okay.
player whose eyes are on the ground and the opponent lined him up for no purpose other than to create a violent hit. Sorry, that stayed up there.
Is that Rob Wyman reporting that penalty?
Good mechanics here. Good mechanics by the ref.
You look at it one more time. This is targeting. According to the rule book.
Until next time, nice.
I raised a question earlier about the 2 flags. Get into your rule book. Page 87. There's your hint.
I think that last slide says a lot. Some of these calls, or some of these last videos that we saw, ball getting passed away, and it was that the trail official watching the shooter, the passer after the play is gone, who's going to be making some of these calls. That's a good ending slide. So that everything, Shannon?
Yes, sir.
Hey, before you go, can you hear me?
Yes.
Just a couple things, and I'll get a note out here, and I hate to be repetitive of everything I say, but I'm sure everybody that was here today is in the arbor, so we're all set there. If anybody does not have insurance, and I'll send a notice out because I've got to get it in this week, I will do that. If anybody needs a rule book, I have a couple left, so I will send that notice out. I'll get a note out to everybody here in a couple seconds. That's it for me.
I've got a general question.
Yes, sir.
What is the projected start date for high school games, and how confident are we that that date can be met?
The start date, according to Craig, was April 18th.
That's a
I
Sunday.
think practice starts on the 5th, and then, or whatever that Monday is, 5th or 6th, and then the 18th. I did speak with an AD, the ADs. I spoke with Hank actually the other day from U32, and he said that the VPA was meeting, I think, last week about spring sports.
April 5th will be the start of practice. They need 10 practices before they can have their first game. Usually they don't practice on a Sunday, so you can do the math. It's probably April 19th for the first game. It'll still be very cold, Rob. You won't want to be here.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, I think that's pretty much it. I'm not going to make everyone stay on the call. I just want to thank you all for doing this, and we'll learn from this, and we'll try to bring more good content, and for our next one in 2 weeks, please enjoy the break. We'll have another one in 2 weeks, but if the executive board wants to stay on, we'll have a quick little wrap up, please.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.